Design Journeys and Learning and Challenges is a session wherein notable women from the design world share their greatest learnings, success stories, challenges, and how they overcome them. To introduce the esteemed panelists, I would like to invite Ms. Namrata Agarwal, Director, Manilam Decorative Panel. Please put your hands together for Namrata. All right, joining us as a panelist today, we welcome architect DIMPLE MITTAL, Principal, MAYAPRAXIS, Bengaluru. Please come join us. Yeah, please exit. DIMPLE has a Master in History and Theory of Architecture from the University of Cincinnati, Ohio, USA, and a Bachelor of Architecture from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. In her 24 years of experience, she has worked in Delhi, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, USA on a wide variety of design projects and research. Next we have Architecture Monica KHOSLA Bhargava. Can we have you on the stage, ma'am? Guys, put your hands up, everybody. Monica KHOSLA Bhargava, Principal, KHAM Consultants, Kolkata. Monica KHOSLA Bhargava is an architect, urban designer, author, and an international floral artist. She founded her design practice, KHAM Consultants, in 1992 and has been felicitated with several awards, both national and international. Also, I would like to welcome Architecture RENU KHANNA. Can we have you on the stage, ma'am? Guys, put your hands up for RENU KHANNA. RENU KHANNA and Associates, Chandigarh, known for her experimental and emotive architecture. KHANNA is one of the leading architects of India whose several projects have been published and awarded. Her book, Architecture of Happiness, has been launched by Consulate General of India in New York in 2019. She's also known to have delivered lectures internationally. All right, so the moderator for the session is Mr. MANU GOEL, Director, NOVARCH Consultants. Yes, ma'am, please welcome, ma'am. Manu ji ke liye thodi taaliyan baja do, everybody. Bina bole baja do, yaar. Okay, so MANU GOEL is known to have professionally handled several scale projects of master planning and architecture for corporate campuses, industrial clusters, public infrastructure, commercial, hospitality, and healthcare sectors. An agri-architecture enthusiast, she is the director at NOVARCH Consultants and Delhi chapter chair, Alumni India at CAI. Over to you, MANU GOEL, to take the sessions ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so all women on the panel, and I'm really excited too because our panel is very varied, I must say. We have participants from Bangalore, Chandigarh, and Kolkata, yeah. And I'm from Delhi. So we are literally holding the fort and giving a truly regional representation. I'll begin the session with a small quote that I just looked up, but I thought it kind of summarized and will set the tone. It's a Sanskrit quote which says, Nari asya samajasya kushal vastukaraha asti, which basically means woman is the perfect architect of our society. And this is something that has been said in our Shastras. So I think nothing better can explain what the role of women in our society in general is. So today's panel will focus on women-based, women-led architectural practices. And I think all of us are in a slightly different format. Some of us are solo, some of us maybe in partnership-based practice with maybe with our life partner or maybe with other partners. And over the past 20 years of my own practice, what I've seen is there are several experiences that slowly start happening to you once you start getting into the practice. My own introduction of being aware of being a woman architect happened in my final year of undergraduate course at CEPT. And then we had organized a conference called Women and the Built Environment, which eventually led to a book in which I have also contributed a chapter. And we were looking at things like gendered spaces and looking at vernacular architecture, as having spaces which can be categorized as male and female spaces and stuff like that. And in that conference, we had many women architects from different countries in South Asia. And that was my first exposure to see that, 20 years ahead, what would lie in the profession, what kind of experiences they've had, what kind of stories they have to share. So with that, I'll begin my first question, and I'll not hold you for longer. So we'll begin with Veena ji. Would you like to share, we can go one by one. So would you like to share any incident which, as a woman practicing architect, or a story which kind of defined your stance, or which made you aware of, how you need to conduct yourself? Or were you even like completely unaware and said, no, what the heck, it's just the same for everyone? Please.
I am from Delhi, but practicing in Bangalore. So I studied in SPA. I think the way, once I started, and I look back at your question now, my experiences with the people whom I worked really affected me, who I am. I worked with Revati Kamath. So the passion she had, and with that zealousness she used to work, I mean, I think it rubbed on me. So, so that's and then I worked, another, I think one experience it was my third year, and after third year, the summer holidays, I fell ill, and the doctors couldn't figure out what's going on. They said it's psychological. She's too scared to be an architect. They said she doesn't want to go back to college. Maybe, you put her in the wrong profession. And then they said, go to some, and then actually 3 months later, I figured out it was a naturopathy treatment, and they came out with a solution, and I got okay. But it really made me think. I went back to college. It was already, I had lost 3 months. And then I decided that, I'm going to take a break. So I took a break after my third year of college. And I worked with architects like Gurmeet Rai, and I worked around. And I used to stay in hostel and help my friends, everybody. But that's something that I still remember, and I go back, that experience after that third year dictated how I live. One thing I learned is how to slow down. It's like a rat race. Everybody is moving in. Something came to your life, it gave you an opportunity to slow down, look around, see, learn. And I think as an architect, that's what we need to do. So I think that kind of hit, how I am today. Still, I go back to that.
Lovely. What a candid share. And, these stories are what define us, because I think ultimately we're all going to talk about our work and our practice, and we're this and that. But, that's those little things that have actually gone into making each one of us. And I think all of you can relate to those stories. So next, I'll request Monica ji to please share her bit. And I'm very excited to hear what she has to say.
Well, I pretty much decided to be an architect when I was 12 years old. I had read Lust for Life, Michelangelo, then Howard Roark. They were all my heroes. I even remember, that scene from Trishul where Amitabh Bachchan is looking up at his Vijay Towers. And I used to think, oh, I want to be designing those structures. So then I studied, trained, topped my batch at SPA, and I had started my design practice even before I got married. So it seemed to me that my life was carved out for design. But life clearly had some other designs planned for me. So at the age of 2, my daughter was diagnosed with nephrotic syndrome, a kidney issue, and it led to a totally different chapter in my life. I was juggling doctors, hospitals, struggling to get a hang of my life, while she was being administered life-saving drugs one after another. And at that time, my mother-in-law, she gave me some very valuable advice. So mom's a doctor. She's a Padam Shri. She's former director AIMS. And she said that we've done the biopsy and her condition is pretty much reversible. And hopefully, and we believe that, say, roughly around puberty, she should be able to break out of this. But she also told me that what you need to do is never make her feel frail or weak or disadvantaged. Because the drugs, they're going to take care of the physical condition. But it is your belief that she's strong and well that's going to mentally help her to break out of this. Now, I also understood that this same principle was something which I needed to apply to myself. So just as I knew that she was going to be okay, I also knew that my practice was going to be coming back on track, and I needed to keep it going. So I shifted office home, trimmed my work, concentrated more on quality rather than quantity, and kept my firm alive for the next 12 years, knowing and believing that we are going to break this together, which we did. So, and I'm also thankful that Vedesha actually invited my daughter. I mean, they didn't know this is the story, and she's here with me today.
How lovely, how lovely. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing that really personal story with us. It really means a lot. So, Renuji, can we just have your bit?
Yeah. In 1986, I was working for an architect, and at that time, my salary used to be 1,600 rupees. And so I was just on a holiday, I was sitting at home, and somebody came with his family. And, he had already designed one house with some other architect, but the family was not ready, happy with the design, and they had already laid the foundation. So he just came to me for some help, and I drew a few lines, and he loved it. And he said, "Will you be my architect?" So I said, "No." Why? I said, "I'm not interested in practice." So, because at that time, my mind was all set on a 3 months long vacation to Kalimpong. So, but this fellow said, "Okay, ma'am, we'll wait for you for 3 months. You please come back and do our design." So I did it. They paid me a handsome amount of 50,000 rupees. And that's how the whole thing kicked off. Then I participated in another competition for Agriculture Cooperative Staff Training Institute at Jalandhar. And I won that competition. So there was this, some male architect over there, senior to me, and he wrote a complaint that they've given this job to a lady architect whose husband is also not an architect. So this was considered as a prerequisite, you know, if you have to have a husband architect. So I said, "Okay, yaar, I'll face the jury again." So that means, he says she won't be able to go to the sites. But yeah, I did it, and my first project was published in A+D. And thereafter, I did some projects for Vardhaman at Baddi. I did the senior manager housing, and I did a cluster of 12 houses around a central courtyard. So one day, one senior manager who was staying over there, he called me. He says, "Ma'am, please come and stay with us on one day." I said, "Why?" He says, "One day, yesterday we were celebrating my son's birthday, and the lights went off. So we all came out in the courtyard, and it was as if we are living inside a planetarium, and moonlight is flowing into our homes." So this kind of comment from your end user, you know, it really encourages you. And then I got this Housing Board Haryana projects at 10 stations in Haryana for LIG housing. 325 square foot area only. first time I was getting a chance to do something for the underprivileged, and I was really keen to do it. So I created cluster of 16 plus 12, and I made sure that they get enough sunlight, enough ventilation, and the first floor ones get terrace. And also I wanted to revive the Punjabi culture of Sanja Veda. I hope you've heard of Sanja Veda, means a common courtyard where you share your joys and sorrows. So that day, when I went to take pictures over there, and in fact, the XCN was not ready to accept that design. He says, Madam, isko सीधा सीधा कर दो, ये row housing कर दो, ये आपका cluster नहीं चलेगा. So, anyways, I went ahead with it, and so when I went to take pictures, I saw two ladies were sitting and doing their kitchen chores. Dal wal saaf kar rahi thi. There was another man sitting over there, and a boy came from the other room, house, and he said, Uncle, score batana. So at that time, they used to have that 5-day cricket matches. Another lady came from another house, and she said, please take care of my younger son. मैं बड़े वाले को school से लेने जा रही हूँ. So this is the kind of society I had thought of, my architecture would create. And I was really happy to see this happening. So for this, I got JK Indian Architect of the Year award. One more incident over here only. So when I went to Sonipat housing, there was this man standing over there, and he says, मैडम फ्लैट खरीदने का सोच रहे हो? मैंने कहा हाँ. तो कहता है कि फटाफट ले लो, इसके दाम बढ़ रहे हैं. मैंने बोला अच्छा. तो मैंने बोला क्यों? कहता है कि कौन सा महीना है? मैंने बोला जून का. आप कम घर के अंदर हो या बाहर? अंदर हूँ. आपको गर्मी लग रही है? मैं कहा नहीं. यही तो. He says यही तो खूबी है इन घरों की. I was so amazed, somebody, my end user explaining my own concepts to me. He didn't know that I'm RENU KHANNA. So he said, आपको पता है चंडीगढ़ के बहुत तगड़े आर्किटेक्ट ने डिज़ाइन किए हैं. So I said, अच्छा, I thought he'll take somebody else's name. Because I was too young at that time, I was just 28 years old. So he says, वो RENU KHANNA ji हैं. So this was a great turning point in my life. I mean, if I could bring some difference in the society. Because in Chandigarh, you often hear, it comes in the newspaper, it came last week also, that a man's dead body was found in a house after 4 days. Because people don't want to know what's cooking in the other house. So what we are looking for is a happy neighborhood, a friendly neighborhood.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I think this is actually leading to the next topic that I was going to bring up. And I think very beautifully all of you have touched upon some very finer nuances that come with being a woman architect, with being a female architect, because there are certain roles that we need to play in our lives. There are certain emotions that we can feel. There are certain life stages that we have to go through that gives us an edge above. That's how I would like to put it. So the kind of sensibilities that Renu ji just talked about, or what previously I think Monica ji has also talked about, it's a fact that while the number of architecture students, female architecture students is on a rise, has been on a rise significantly over the years, the fact is that it is not marked by an equal number of female practicing architects, that too solo practicing architects in the profession. And the reasons are many. I was just having a discussion with a very dear friend of mine who's also in that life stage, and she was talking about her pregnancy, the stage of her pregnancy, where the place that she was working with was not allowing a work from home or any other kind of an arrangement, so she decided to quit. And when she quit, how our survival instinct kicks in. And she's an artist also, so she started simultaneously taking up art as a parallel profession, and she's an architect urban designer, mind you. And she said that, okay, this is also something that I do now full time. So I said, look, looking at it from a third person, I think this is also the story of our profession. Because most of us women start thinking that if you're having a child, that is, or if there is any other life condition that may be limiting for you, you start thinking of that as also a key priority in your life because you don't want to kind of not do justice to that role. And then you start thinking of making an arrangement which is going to give you the benefits of both worlds. So I would say while as a profession, architecture or any design related profession may give you a certain amount of flexibility, it also becomes a decision which is very survival based. And then eventually there are many women who may not even be able to come back to the profession if they've not done it timely or if they're not feeling confident enough or if there aren't people around them who are building them up, other women. So then it becomes limiting because there is a lot of external factors which may have kind of led to these decisions. And so that now brings me to the next question, where I am going to ask you all to just look back into your own professional lives and talk about any challenges that you may have faced or overcome in your practice, either of whatever kind, but as a woman architect specifically.
So I think when we went to college, it was 8 girls in a class of 80. Today it's the other way. You know, things have changed. But, you know, when we came out, we were very few women architects. I remember, I started working in Delhi. I worked for 3 years in Delhi, and then I went to US. I was there for 6 years, and then came and set up a practice in Bangalore. I would say, in my experience working in Delhi, you almost felt in 1980s and 90s, I more felt like a contractor than an architect. I think, people just consider you are there to get the work done. But when I was working in Bangalore, I think the value of design is still better and times have changed. But even when I started 20 years ago and I went for a meeting, I went with my partner who's male. I'm asking the question, but he's looking in his eyes and answering. I'm sitting right there. I'm the one, actually asking details and all that. But that person can't look into my eye it's something which I have done is there's no point fighting it. You just have to keep doing it. They will understand. And then between me and my partner, I said, I will do this project. You are not doing it. And then I think after I went to site and everything, he understood. But every time I go to the site, they will say, Architect Saheb aa gaye. Because there was nothing like Architect Mem Saheb, They will always refer to me as Architect Saheb aa gaye. So the site engineer will also talk like that. So that's how male-dominated world we are living in. But it's okay. I think we all have to go through that. And today things are much better. The value of design has improved a lot. So it's much better. The other incident I feel is that one project manager, I think being a woman, you are just assumed that you don't have any technical understanding of the subject. So you are there for aesthetics, if anything, aap bas bata do kaise lagna hai, hum bana denge. Arre yaar, actually design comes from how it is built. If I don't understand how it is built, how the hell? So I know it, man. So to even discuss those things with carpenters at site and all that. So it's been a journey, I think, but the way you do it is you just have to keep doing it, and then they believe in you. There is no shortcut to it.
Very, very well said, And this reminded me of a small incident that happened in my own team. So we have a senior architect, she's a woman, and she's small built, okay? And a junior architect just joined her team. By chance, he's like 6'3" and, kind of well built, and he's just joined her team, and the two of them, they were working on a new project. And the lady she's managing, she's a wonderful, very, very talented, and she's a very taskmaster kind of a person. She goes to the side. This is her second meeting. The first meeting, the junior was not there. The second meeting, the junior guy had joined, so she took him along. And suddenly, all discussions, right from the client to the, the contractor, whoever, they're all looking at the junior guy, and they're talking to him like as if, he's going to answer all the questions. And she's like, what's happening, man? And it's like, I'm going to take charge. What is this nonsense? So I think this is a very, very common phenomenon, both of these things that you've just mentioned. Lovely. Monica ji, please.
Well, what you said rightly is that, there's no dearth of women architects. Like, even in our time, like college, we are around 50-50. So, and also in the profession, there's no dearth of women architects. The lack is in women architects in a leadership role. Means it's about the head of the organization. Even in a lot of couple firms, where both husband and wife are architect, it's the male who's considered as the principal and the wife is the assistant. Like, I'm just saying it because it's very much true. And if you scratch between the surface of any of the architecture firms, you will see that the entire team is women. They are the ones who are doing all the back-end work. The next thing is, supposing, let's say, like earlier I used to do a lot of developer work, and let's say I suggest to them an MEP consultant or an electrical consultant. I give them 5 names. Let's say 4 are women and 1 is male. Their instinct is, let's go with the guy. The instinct is not to go with the other 4. And also, that guy tells me clearly, I'm just the name. Everyone in my office is a woman. So the job is being done by women. The acceptance that women can handle this job is not high. There's one main reason I feel for it is the amount of money that is involved in this profession. Means the amount of investment that is involved, and people don't feel confident that they can depend on a woman. They can ask her to handle a project where so much of their investment is at stake. So they prefer to go with men. And the next thing is that women generally have a smaller scope of involvement. Like, I also do a lot of small-scale houses, etc., small projects, private projects. And till date, I've had only 3 women clients. And all are power-packed women or very successful women. But the fact is that wherever you are spending more than, may say, several crores, the decision-making is also not by women. So I think that gap is also there, which we face as a challenge. So,
very well said, and I think that's a very valid observation that you have put up. Though I feel that it's not so much about men or women, but I think anyways our field is moving towards more of interdisciplinary, collaborative kind of work. But I think it should ideally be more about each one bringing in their strengths. Because I think just as anyone, a woman also may have her limitations and she's entitled to it, so are men. They are not the know-all and be-all of it. I've seen men who are very, very good at the non-traditional male kind of a thing, but very poor with, the financial bit that you're mentioning, and very, very poor in delivery and very poor in committing and stuff. And women who are very, very kind of, so it's not so much about men and women, I feel.
I think every human being has its advantages and disadvantages, and it all comes from the backgrounds, the upbringing, the education we have. And we get those strengths and weaknesses. And we need to complement each other. We are not there to,
Absolutely.
be against each other. because, you know, we have to live together and we have to do it. But it is actually the perception. You know, I think why we are talking about we being as women architects and it's becoming, because the perception needs to change. You know, and I must say, it's much, much better than 20 years before. I mean, I'm happy to be where it is as compared to earlier. But still, there is so much more to change. I mean, this one is, yes, if you're doing houses, yes, women architects can do. But, you know, if you're doing factories or you're doing, so then it's something. So, I mean, recently, I am doing like 5 factories in Jalandhar, and that structural engineer was doing the projects. So when the client asked the structural engineer to work with me, he refused. Because he got so, you know, how does this women architect, I was doing these projects, now what will she do to a factory? You know, why we need her to do a factory like that? So I'm saying, so that's more of a, I mean, nobody's hurting ego, or it's about perception and acceptance of each other's and all of us as professionals. So that's important.
Very, very true. A lot of times it's not only just about fighting others' conditioning. Many a times I've seen that younger women architects, sometimes even, you know, seasoned women architects, it's also self-conditioning. And I think it's a lot about fighting with your own emotions and making yourself feel that much confident. Not everyone is. I have seen कि yeah, ये तो ऐसे ही होता है, you know, so accepting, and now it's changing. So we'll hear Renu ji's bit, and then we'll come to the next part.
Yeah, what do I say in this? I never faced any such problems. So my clients always trusted me, and in fact, Mr. Oswal, SP Oswal would never buy any land without asking me. So, but yes, we did face problems with bureaucracy. So when I was doing this project for Baba Banda Singh Bahadur War Memorial, I wanted to recreate the same landscape which existed in 1710, because that landscape played an important role in deciding the war strategy which made them win the war. So like Wazir Khan had decided that he will keep the plain land and he'll give the difficult terrain of Chappar, Chidi and Tibbas to Banda Bahadur. So how he used it, he said, Chappar means a pond, and Chidi means dhadi. Tibba means a mound. So what I decided that on one side I'll keep Chappar, Chidi and Tibbas, and the other side I'll make a victory tower. And they were to celebrate 300th year of their victory. So I decided to take it more than 300 feet, my victory tower. So one of the bureaucrats in the meeting, in front of the chief minister, he says, "Ye madam to jaan ke uncha uncha bana rahi hai. She wants to become famous. She wants to do good work because she wants to become famous." I said, "तो sir, मुझे नहीं मालूम था कि आपने मुझे गंदा काम करने के लिए hire किया हुआ है. You're paying me to do substandard work." Anyways, so I went ahead with the design. I did not change my design. And when it was for Chappar, they said, "No Chappar, no water body. कौन maintain करेगा?" I said, आपके project का नाम ही है Chappar. So क्यों नहीं होगा? करना पड़ेगा मुझे. So when I went ahead with the same design, I said, ये जो land है ना, this land is that of depression. So maybe it had been the Chappar in 1710. So why can't I make a water body over here? So I made that Chappar. I said, अगर आप इसको fill करते हो, which in any case you have to do, you end up spending 1 CR. But if you just make a water body, you spend 50 lakhs. Then he agreed. So it's some kind of yukti, you know, sometimes you have to try all this nonsense to get your things done. And when the project was completed, so on the day of inauguration, that same bureaucrat comes to me and says, "Madam, I have a confession to make." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "It was good you did not listen to me that day." So I felt great.
You have to hold your gun. Lovely, lovely.
Yeah. So after that, again, another challenge was that this had to be completed in 11 months' time because elections were approaching. You know how architects, when we get government projects, we have to finish it within time. So we decided, so every challenge comes with a learning. So the learning here was going for hybrid construction. And we did the central core of, vertical core of RCC. And through slip form shuttering, we went from ground 0 to 40 in just ground 0 to 300 in just 40 days time. And thereafter, it was precast and prefab. So we completed it within time.
Lovely. So we'll come to the last part. I'd like to close the session, but before that, just one last question. If there's any message that you would like to give to the younger female architects of today, looking back into your own journey, something that you think that they should keep in their mind.
I think I would say follow your heart, be passionate about your doing, be at it, do hard work, you will get what you want to do. And it's believe in yourself. I think that's important. I would say, being a woman, you have to work sometimes a little harder to get what you want, but you have a lot of advantages also being a woman. Use them. Not in that sense, but I think it's people, actually in today, I say people listen to you sometimes when you say it with that little conviction and assertment. And they understand, yes, you know your subject. So I think these things are really important. If you just, you have to make them believe, you know. For that, we need to be confident and be hardworking and be there and be at it.
Yeah, really, that was really well said. You know, when you're in college, more or less, the batch is very even, very equal. And that's what you believe. It's only when you jump into the professional arena that the differences start appearing. And I think that's where when women have families or motherhood or, these kind of issues, they generally take a back seat and give up their careers. And I think that that's an important phase for women and for young women that I would like to say that never leave this arena of architectural design. Always be in that arena because it is in the arena that your opportunity lies. You cannot achieve it if you step back. You may go slow for a while. Life is a long eon. You may get there early, you may get there late, but you will get there. And that's the important thing. Also the conviction that of your knowledge of what you are doing and the honesty with which women do it. That's another very important thing. Because generally women are far more committed in this subject to doing a good job. They also have relatively less pressure or, of finance, which is a huge pressure which also men take, and I salute them for that. Because for men, it's very important to bring the money home, to run the family. It's a responsibility which is their time age. And architectural practice is not the best place to do it. If you want to be Garib Gurba, have great ideals, do lots of good for society, be an architect. If you want to make lots of money, etc., it's not the profession to be in. So there is that whole difference also, and I think that women are far more committed, and if they continue, they can do it. And another thing is that architectural feel is something that we also as architects need to look at for the younger generation, because they are not getting motivated by this low pittance that we get for projects. Like there's a huge appetite for design. There is a huge amount that people can spend on a project, but they cannot pay for design. मतलब आप 25 लाख सब्यसाची का लहंगा खरीद लेंगे, बट आपको अगर मैंने 25 लाख मांग लिया हाउस जो आपको लाइफ टाइम लास्ट करेगा उसकी फीस, सो यूल से ये लो मोनिका जी क्या बोल रहे हैं.
Very nice. That's so well said. We should have a clap for that. Indeed, without men, there are no women. So very, very well said. And ये बात बिल्कुल सही है. So we must acknowledge that part as well. Renu ji.
So I have two sons, and since I am living in a joint family, so maybe I never had such problems. But because only thing when my sons reached 10th or 12th, that was the time I took a small break. And for the younger generations, the advice that I have is stick to your guns. So once you've decided you're going to design this, make it happen. Because abhi nahi to kabhi nahi. You know, when I won my first project, I met architect Satnam Singh. This was the advice he gave me. He says, Renu, consider this as your last opportunity to show your worth. और इसको इतना अच्छा करो, and you know, so that's why I thought abhi nahi to kabhi nahi, and always keep looking for newer technologies. Things are moving so fast, and yeah, we have to plan sustainable. One thing I noticed when I was doing this project for Maltipatpur, Orissa, Jagannath Puri temple, I noticed that in Orissa, the people over there are very rich in art and culture, but they're very poor otherwise. So when I went to their heritage village, I noticed their artwork, and I brought their artwork on the big walls of my project. So I think, we as architects have a great responsibility to promote Indian artisans. There's so much of wealth of talent in India that we must promote, rather than going in for those big companies. America se ek company aayi hai, wo itne. So, and another thing important is always document your work. Never forget to document your work, because times are changing so fast. पहले हम photos खींचते थे, फिर हम slides बनाते थे, फिर हमने projector पे आए, then it was the floppies, then it was what? Now it is the CDs. CDs भी खत्म हो गई. Now it is WhatsApp. सब गुम जाएगा, उसको संभाल के रखो. So the precious moments that you've given to your work, please document it. So like I documented that all that in my book called Architecture of Happiness. When I was doing that, in fact, one of my contemporary architects only told me to do it. So I noticed कि मेरे पास पुराना record ही नहीं मिल रहा था. But yeah, somehow we got it. And this book, for this book, I was invited to New York by Consulate General of India, and they were all very happy to see the work.
Veena ji wants to say something, I think.
Not Veena, Dimple.
Achha, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry for that.
No, I just like listening. What I want to add to the young thing is, because we're talking about money. See, I think one is, I would say, design has to work. See, it's not just what is visual design. Design has to work at all levels, whether it's functional, aesthetic, emotional, what it means for the client. So, I mean, to understand the client and make it work for him, that's something I personally feel the young people whom I work with, somehow they just feel, it's my design, I've done it, this is how it should be, but that's not what it's going to work. You have to make it work for your client. Absolutely. And I mean, talking about money, it's also, my advice to young professionals is I understand maybe salaries are maybe less expected than what it is, but we must also understand that when we come out of college, we know very little of how practice works. We are in a profession, we need that 5 years of, whether you call it apprenticeship or whatever it is, we need to learn. So, I mean, I would say that use that time to train yourself. Because finally, if you're trained and you are out there, then money will come in. It's not so important. The first few years are about becoming an architect, training your mind, training your eye, training your heart to follow it. So I think that's important in initial years.
Very true, very true. Okay, lovely. So I think one point that I would like to add on my behalf, just to close, just a minute. So that's basically, I think, as women, we probably need to build other women. And I was just reading what was written there. It says, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. And I think Wade as a platform has been able to do that. It's putting us all together to collaborate, to come together and create a collective voice and put our stories out there and build each other up. So I would say that building younger women architects up as we go along, I mean, that's just my personal thing, is also very, very important for us little more senior women architects. And with that, I would like to first of all congratulate Wade for such a beautiful panel, such a diverse set of opinions that we've got from different kinds of practices. And thank you all so much. Dimple ji, I'm really sorry for taking the name wrongly. Thank you so much, Dimple ji, Renu ji, and Monica ji. Lovely to have all of you on this panel. Thank you all. And thank you, Wade, for letting us have a voice.